Hey everybody, good morning. It's about 8:40 in the morning Eastern Time. I'm here to do a full market analysis on Bitcoin, on the S&P 500, Nasdaq, and I'm also going to take a look at the Russell. Before I get into any of this, of course, as you all know, this is not financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor. You are responsible for your own trades, managing your own risk, doing your own research, and I'm just giving my opinion on the market. So I'm going to go ahead and start with our good friend Bitcoin here because we've had kind of an interesting event um, over the last week or so. So I want to talk a little bit about that, and also over the last 2 weeks we've had some interesting movements in the traditional stock market as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at Bitcoin. I'm starting with the high level view here. I want to talk a little bit about what this looks like so far. You know, do I think that we're done, that the market is done, and we're going to drop, all the way back down to 10 to 12,000? I don't think that's the case. However, it does appear that we have completed a structure of some kind, and the bigger question is, what is the structure that we just completed? All right, so I'm going to remove this fib that I've got drawn on here. So we had a channel which actually held for a short period of time. And this is this channel right here. You could refer to this as a bear channel of sorts, and it does look like it has broken to the downside, which leads me to believe that we're going to be down here for a while. I don't think that the 100,000 is on the table before the end of the year. I don't think 70,000 is on the table before the end of the year. However, I will say that I do believe that the target, is actually going to be increased. Originally, I was looking at, 73 to 75. I've been talking about that for a while. We didn't quite get there, but now that we've had this pullback, I'm actually increasing my price target to about 100 to 125,000. So I think it's high probability that we are going to make more highs. I do think we are absolutely going to hit that 73 to 75 without a doubt. But the bigger question is, what is this formation that we are in the middle of creating right here? And of course, nobody can see the future. Nobody has a crystal ball. Everybody is talking about Bitcoin going to 100,000. But the bigger question is, how do we get there? How does this actually work out? So first off, let's just talk about this channel. We had a high probability longing opportunity back here at about 53,000. Obviously, that didn't work out, right? It fell and it broke this channel, which then caused a pretty steep sell-off. There was about $2.5 billion worth of longs that got liquidated. That's another reason why I'm not a huge advocate of high leverage trading, because of this exact thing. Really from this point here, this candle from top to bottom was about a 22% drop in Bitcoin. Okay, there were some alts that fared pretty well, but a lot of alts, they bled pretty hard, and they're continuing to do so. But I'm also of the opinion that, as Bitcoin is doing this, as it's making this move down, and I actually do believe it's going to go lower. I'm going to talk about why here in just a minute. This is a good time to be accumulating. This is a good time to be taking little nibbles. I talk about little nibbles inside of our insured room all the time. I'll take a little nibble here, a little nibble there. It still means I have a significant amount of cash sitting on the side, but I'm buying little bits here and there when we have a significant drop. This drop that we just had reminds me a little bit, right? It reminds me a little bit of this drop that we had back here, back in March of 2020. Okay, now, where do I think we're going to go from here? Well, that's a fantastic question. So the bigger point that I want to make is the fact that we did make another high. I'm going to move this guy over here. I'm actually going to remove the channel because it's now, I don't want to say it's irrelevant, because it's not, but it is not as relevant as it once was. What matters the most right now isn't the channel, but it is this trend line right here. Okay, this trend line has become the most important line, because it doesn't matter what happens here. We could just kind of move sideways. When we move up, wherever this trend line is, we're likely going to reject from. So that's why I'm saying that that trend line is now the most important trend line that we currently have. Because when we go and do a back test, likely we're going to get a rejection there. So if you are interested in shorting, that would be a really great place to short, assuming that it gets there. But the bigger question is, I had a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, obviously we've had a pretty significant pullback here. This is valid, but I also have to recognize that it is possible that this right here is simply an A, a B, and a C completed. Okay, let me just give this a different degree. I'm going to give it a different color. I'm going to give this red because this is kind of maybe a bearish count, if you will. So from here, right, I think we can all agree that we've had either a WXYXZ or a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. I'm leaning towards more, the WXYXZ. We've got a complex correction down here, and then we have an A, B, C into the A, B, C into the B, and then we've got 5 waves up, right? So you've got a nice 3, 3, 5, okay? And we can count this off the bottom pretty well from down here in the bottom. We've got a nice little 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we've got 5 waves up here to complete wave 5 on a lower degree. That would have completed that move, which then leads me to the fact that we are probably going to go a little bit lower. Which would really surprise me if we came all the way back down here to the low 30s, but that is very possible. I'm going to measure from this dominant pivot low here to this dominant pivot high here, and we're just going to see. I'm going to try and get as close as possible just to see where we're going to get some areas of support. Okay, so first off, we didn't quite make it to the 618, which is at about 40,250, right? Getting down here to 40,000 seems likely. Seems likely. I want to point out the 786 and the 887. So if we do happen to get into sort of like a wedge formation, something along those lines, these are the next areas, which is going to be a 34.7 to 31.7. Likely we're not going to come down here. More than likely we're going to stop in this general area right at about 40,000. So just keep in mind, that's high probability that we're going to stop at about 40,000. So if Bitcoin gets to 40,000, well, I say that's a good opportunity to take a nibble. All right. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure this top here from back in April, this bottom here back in June, and then we're going to go up to this top up here. Okay. So the 100% range expansion is going to be down here at about 30,500. I doubt that's going to happen. Let me throw the 618 on there, and that is where we stopped. Okay, we stopped here at the 618, which what this means, just to be fully transparent here, what this means is the measurement of the move from the top here to the bottom here, we'll call this a measurement of 1. Okay, we're going to project that measurement from the top back here in November 10th. Okay, that means that this move is 61.8% the length of this move right here. So this is also, further confirming that we have potential for a significant bottom at about 40,000. Okay. Now again, this is all going to take some time. This is going to take time, so we just have to be patient. But there is still a bull case, even after we had the movement that we'd had, which it kills me because I was talking about buying at 41,000. I've talked about this on many of my videos. And we've been tracking a lot of this this price action here. We talked about this potentially being a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We also talked about this being an A, B, C and completing the move. Although we did kind of expect it to get to that 73 to 75,000 target, which it did not do. We've always talked about this being a possibility, and now we're in the middle of potentially a wave 2. So on a higher degree, if this was a 1, so we're assuming that this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If this is a 1, well, then that wave 2 coming down to the 50 or the 618 seems likely, which means we've got 3, 4, 5 to go. And again, this is going to be on a higher degree, which means, I'm not going to really project too far here, but this is one of the reasons why I said it is possible that we go significantly higher than what I originally had anticipated. So we've got the 1, and then if we come down, let's just say we come down in a perfect world, we come down to 40,000. All right. What's our upside target for a wave 3? Well, the upside target for wave 3 is actually at about 165. But, conservatively, I'm estimating here at about 96, and then the next target up here is going to be at about 118. I think those are higher probability, but a lot of it is really going to depend on whether or not we stop at 40 or if we do come all the way down here to like 34, 35,000. If we come down there, then of course, we're still looking at about 100,000. So you've got a wide area that we have to pay attention to, but a lot of it is going to depend on where we stop. And again, we always use Fibonacci to determine where our pivots are going to be, and then of course, then we will go to project where wave 3 and wave 5 are more probable to land. So that's it on Bitcoin. Looking at the daily, the daily looks okay. We've got some pullback here on the MACD histogram. Waves indicator, it doesn't look the greatest right now, which is why I'm thinking that we will go a little bit lower. But all in all, a lot of things do look pretty good. And Bitcoin currently in a squeeze on the daily after the expansion to the downside, back in a squeeze. It does lend to a little bit more bullish bias. So that's why, again, I'm talking about nibbling. All right, let's move on. That was 11 minutes on Bitcoin. Let's talk a little bit about the S&P 500. All right, S&P 500. I'm going to kill all of this. We had been tracking this for a while, then I really stopped. So I'm going to get everything off of this chart, and I'm going to give a little bit of an opinion on this that probably is not going to be very popular, but I believe that we've got a 1, 2, 3, sharp 4, and then a 5. I think this is a 5-wave structure. It's not clean, but it works. And then obviously, we talked about this. Obviously, we have a correction here. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark this. Let me get my favorites on here just to make things a little bit easier. Then we've got, from up here, we've got a nice A, B, C. Okay, let me just go ahead and change this to match with the degree of the move. So a nice A, B, C. It's going to be on our micro. All right, so, and then from there, let's just look at this. All right, so from the bottom, we've got the top up here, and then we've got our pullback. All right, so our wave 3 target, we're on a log scale. I could move over here to your normal arithmetic scale, but our wave 3 target is, sitting up here at about 5,500, okay? So with that, all right, we have to look on a lower degree, looking at this, if this is a wave 1, right? So, again, we've got wave 1 and then wave 2, and then we're looking for wave 3 all the way up here, and then we go up down for wave 4 and up for wave 5, and of course this is going to be on a higher degree. So let's give it a higher degree, and let's give it a nice green color, because this is a bull case, right? This is a bull case, which, you have to take this with a grain of salt, because, I'm talking about a target of 5,500 on the S&P, and it kind of makes sense. So from here, I think we've got a 1, 2, and I'll talk about that here in a second, okay? And then we've got a 3, and then I think we're going to be in a wave 4 before we go up for this wave 5. All right, so let me drop the degree on this guy, back down, and I'm going to put the color in perspective just so that everything matches up. So again, we've got this wave 1, we've got this wave 2. 1, A, B, C. Now, we've talked about this before. Let me zoom in and just show you why I believe this is a wave 2 correction right here. All right, so I'm going to use my trend-based fib extension tool. I'm going to get the top here, and then down here to the bottom, all the way up here to the top. And what happened? We made it all the way down here to the 100, didn't quite make it to the 123.6. This is a great for a flat, right? So we've got a nice correction here, a little bit of expansion to the upside, but this is something that we do see quite a bit. A, B, C. That again finishes wave 2. Okay, that's the reason why I believe that that is the correction right there. All right, let me zoom back out and just kind of look at this again. All right, so from down here, let me move this wave 2 down to look a little bit better. Okay, So we've got a 1, ABC, and then we've got a smaller 1, ABC into the 2, and then I believe we've got wave 3 up here. So what that then means is we've got a nice little 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in this. I'm not going to dig too deep into this, but you can see, and it doesn't look so good when it's all spread out like that, but you can see pretty clearly from down here, we've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You would probably need to be blind if you can't see that, because I believe wholeheartedly that that is a 5-wave move that finished that that measurement. Okay, so from then here, we've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we've got the 5 right there. Okay, I'm actually going to drop this a degree just to keep everything in line with each other. And again, that likely finished this wave 3, which means we're going to be correcting this whole move. The move from wave 2 to the top of wave 3. Okay, and if that's the case, you know, how far down are we going to go? Well, more than likely, we're going to make our way down to the 236. That's where we have been stopping. So let's go ahead and get this guy right here. I need to put the 236 on here, and we stopped right there, dead in the tracks. So it's possible, okay? It's possible that we have bottomed. Now, doesn't mean that we have, but it's very possible that we have bottomed. And then we would be seeing this target move up, right? We would be seeing a move up to at least 5,000. But more than likely, we're going to be seeing, since we're talking about a wave 5, we're talking about a serious extension on this move. And it would be very interesting to see this happen. I've been watching a number of different things, and open interest on options being one of them. There's an excessive amount of open interest for December 17th, and I would say, I don't remember exactly how much the balance is or how off the balance is on this. Let me just go ahead and get this here really quick. We're talking about the S&P. The balance of calls versus puts, 67% of the 5.3 million contracts of options that are open on SPY are bearish. That includes 1 million contracts that were opened on Friday alone, and 72% of those were also bearish. You know, and looking at today's expiration, you know, just talking really short term here, today's expiration, we're talking 60% of 1.5 million volume were also bearish for today's expiration, but that really only left about 451,000 open interest, which is not significant. But as we get into the 17th of December, and just a side note on the 17th of December, that's also a date that's important for market cycles, and really talking specifically about Bitcoin, but that day in general. Options expiration, futures expiration, all in December tend to be a significant event. So we have to remember that as well as we get into this. But that's a lot of bearish options, which leads me to believe that we're going to see another move up. More than likely, we're going to see another move up. We need to see a little bit of a 1, 2, and then we can see the 3, 4, 5 to get ourselves all the way up here to that upside target. And in my opinion, the velocity of the move needs to look a little more like this and not like this. It needs to move more at an upward trajectory versus more of like just a very lackadaisical, just slanting upwards motion. We need to see some conviction behind the move. It needs to look a little bit like this, and again, a lot less like this, in order for us to see that upside target. Right now, I'm bullish on the S&P. Yes, the weekly has moved down, but what I will say, let me just go ahead and also put this into perspective, looking at this, looking at the daily, right? We're creating a higher low. Okay, we're creating a higher low, and the histogram here, we've created a lower low. So looking at this, you know, the MACD histogram has created a lower low. I would say that, on our stochastic here for the waves indicator, we have created a little bit of bullish divergence, or sorry, rather hidden bullish divergence, but it's not as exaggerated as the MACD histogram is. We do have a cross up on our squeeze indicator. This is also indicating that more than likely we're going to be seeing some upward movement. The last time that our squeeze indicator looked like this was all the way back here, and that was really at the bottom. Like back here, you could say that we had it, but it was really this low all the way back here. And we had that 1-2 that I'm looking for, right? We had the 1-2 and then a big 3-4-5. I'm looking for that going into the end of the year. What's going to happen after December 17th? I'm not really quite sure yet looking at things. Things are really almost 50-50 for December 31st. It's not until January 21st of 2022, we've got another 3.6 million options contracts, which 70% are bearish. So that's also something to pay attention to. The options chain just opened for January 10th and the 14th, which there's not a whole lot of open interest on there, nothing to really pay attention to. But January 21st, 2022, 3.6 million contracts, 70% are bearish. All right. So that's what I've got on the S&P. Let's move over to NASDAQ. So right now, we've got, again, I'm going to clear this off. I'm just kind of starting fresh. We've got NASDAQ, which is moving down, and we've got the S&P, which is moving up in pre-market activity, right? So again, we're right at about 9 o'clock. Things are going to start moving here in a minute. But again, NASDAQ looks very similar to the S&P. Big difference here. The S&P, look at the squeeze indicator here, right? So we're in a squeeze on NASDAQ. The indicators are talking about buying, right? We don't have a cross on our squeeze indicator, whereas on the S&P, we do. Big difference there. I think S&P is going to be stronger than NASDAQ going into the end of the year, just my opinion here. I could take a look at open interest on the Qs, but it's not as significant. It's not as important as the S&P. However, there's still 2.8 million contracts that are open with 67% bearishness for December 17th. And again, looking at January 21st, only 1.7 million contracts, but 63% are bearish. That's not really enough to have a high level of conviction for being extremely bullish, like I happen to be on the S&P. But again, look at this, same thing. We have a higher low on NASDAQ, and we've got a lower low on the MACD histogram. So there is still that same hidden bullish divergence sentiment. We still have a similar 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to finish that move. All in all, NASDAQ looks very similar, right? Again, from down here, we've got a little 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we've got an ABC, and then 1, 2. It gets very complicated as we get up here because, it's pretty obvious we've got a correction here, and it's obvious that we've got a correction here as well, which leads to potential for nested 1-2s, which means, NASDAQ could go much, much higher, but I'm going to be very careful about saying that NASDAQ is going to go absolutely ballistic when it already has. Market rotation is a thing. Market rotation is something that we have to pay attention to, which is why I'm going to talk about Russell here in just a minute. As we're looking at both the S&P and NASDAQ, S&P has been moving up. We have a little bit of a path that we've just created on the S&P. NASDAQ has been moving up, and it has been moving up at a faster rate than the S&P. From the bottom to the top, we had a 152% move on the Qs. On the S&P, from the bottom to the top, we had 116%. So NASDAQ has gone up significantly. We're talking from back here on March of 2020. But now let's take a look at Russell. Okay? So let's take a look at the Russell from the bottom here to the top. That actually had 159%, right? So it staged a pretty significant recovery, okay? But let's just take a look at this. So this is something that I haven't done in a while, but I think is worthwhile. All right, so I'm going to put this here, and I'm going to see if I've still got my channel. What's my range expansion? Yeah, this isn't really fantastic. So I guess I'm going to use my here to create a channel on this. So I've got my green midline. I've got some outliers here for areas where we should have some support and resistance, basically looking at liquidity. But really, ever since all of 2021, like all year long, Russell really hasn't moved. So that 150% move, the majority of that happened, 130% of it happened in 2020. Russell hasn't done much in all of 2021. It's really just kind of grinded sideways all year long, which is quite interesting to me when a lot of the other indexes have been performing very well and Russell hasn't done jack all year. I mean, let's face it, we're basically at this pivot high right here, which was in January 25th. So we're talking about Russell's performance from January 1st, right? Let's just go back to January 1st. So we're looking at potentially right back here. Russell's gone up 10%, which isn't terrible, but it's really not great when you look at the other indexes. Now, that leads me to be more bullish on Russell, because all of the other indexes have been performing very well this year, where Russell has just gone sideways all year long. We do have, a pretty significant pullback here on the on the daily, right? For our MACD histogram, we again are getting that cross down here after a failed breakout attempt. If we can get back up above this midline, if Russell can get back up above 22.22, I think that's an important level, 22.22, 22.25, somewhere in that general vicinity, I think that this guy is going to really start moving, okay? So, I'm not going to try and put an Elliott count on this because, frankly, it wouldn't make sense because it's really just kind of moved sideways. It looks a lot like a wave 4. We've got a breakout and then, a pullback, so we could look at this as potentially for an expanded flat, which leads me to believe it may come back down to 2100, but I would be a buyer, a big buyer at 2100 if Russell does happen to get down there. Now, I do have leaps already on Russell that we filled in the plus room. A very small risk for a very high reward if I'm right. So, we're looking at Russell to make a significant move to the upside after it's been grinding for a whole year. People are getting bored after an entire year of just moving sideways, and they got really anxious, got really excited on a breakout, and then very, very disappointed on a move back down to the mean, a reversion to the mean. And, if I had my moving averages handy, and maybe I do, and it looks like I do, we are just kind of grinding sideways. I mean, look at this 21 exponential and the 55 exponential. Once the 21 and the 55 kind of got close to each other, they are just kind of moving sideways all year long. We have a little bit of a bearish cross here. But again, I think it's possible that we move back up. We need to get above that 22.22. But I do have to be a little bit more bullish on Russell than I am on the others. Although I'm still bullish on all of them, including Bitcoin, right? I'm bullish on all these guys going into 2023, but just have to give a little caution and just make sure that the trades that you're taking, whether it be equity or futures, whatever it is, that you've got really good risk management as far as stop losses go on your positions, to make sure that if it does move against you, that you're not finding yourself underwater. All right, guys, that's really all that I've got right now. I'm going to go ahead and drop the video here. But thanks for watching. And if you're a new watcher, we do have a trading room. We've got our Insured and the Insured Plus, where we do stocks and we do spreads for equities. You can find all that information on BitDoctor.org. And if this video did help you in any way, shape, or form, you know the deal. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And wherever you are in the world, I hope you're having a good day, good night, and a good evening. Take care, everyone.